Well, hello again, guys. Welcome to Mr. Davison's ceramics studio class. I'm doing this one from my kitchen table, guys, because there are, if you don't have a kind of a place to, call your own, you can always use your kitchen table. Okay. This is the workstation that I'm going to show you guys how to make, so you're not making a big mess on your table, guys. Everybody has access to free cardboard. Okay, so what I've done here is I have taken just a piece of cardboard, and then I've kind of just cut a little bit on each side, folded up the sides, and taped them up to kind of create a little tray. Okay, to kind of help contain the clay as I'm working with it. Okay. The other thing that I want you guys to see here is after you've made your thing here, I've made a couple of different pieces that I'll show you guys so you guys can see different things. But these are some of the remnants that I'd had left over, and I did this so you guys can see how to make your own slip. Okay, guys, slip is something that's it's the glue of the pottery world. Okay, when you want to put two pieces of clay together, I would always recommend using slip. Okay, to glue them together. We're going to talk a lot more about that with this one, because we're also going to do something called scratching and scoring, and that one's pretty important as well. Okay, guys, so when I'm done with some extra pieces and stuff like that, and I've got some harder pieces and stuff, I usually will, if I'm going to do something like a setup like this where I can clean it up and I've got to tuck it away and I only have a little tiny area to work from. Well, guys, plastic bags are wonderful for that. So just kind of take your clay, and as you're cleaning up, break it up into little chunks. The smaller they are, the quicker they'll dry. And that's the easiest way to make slip, guys, is you want them to be dry. So if you're first starting out, you could take a little bit of your clay, like something from your bag, and you could break it up into little pieces, and then you could set it outside on the cement for a few minutes in the sun, especially right now in this heat that we've got going on up here. And then just take all your little scraps and save them. And I usually will keep 2 bags because I'm always making scraps. The rest of them I'll just kind of slide off over here. At the end when you clean up, then you can pour the rest of them in your little bag here, and then just always leave this one open. And then I had another one that I put some of the dry ones in, and then I just added just a little bit of warm water, and I created some slip. Okay, so something that I've done is I took just a little bit of clay and I made a little bowl, and then I added some of that slip in here, so I don't have to kind of always reach in there and make a mess. I can just always keep that one closed. Okay, guys, so after I made my little thing, guys, I put a little bit of tape down just so with this assignment, it's gonna, how I'm gonna show you to do it is I'm gonna throw out a slab. Okay, guys, I think learning traditional methods is something that we should all know. I think that in today's world, we're in such a rush that we try to look for quick and convenient ways. But that being said, because of where we're at right now, if you guys want to use a rolling pin, if that's your style, go ahead. I mean, I don't look down on it. I don't think that it's any less appropriate or anything. It's just that I really appreciate the rhythm and the feel of throwing out my own slab. Okay, for this assignment, just so you guys know, have your tools handy, but the tools that we're mostly going to be using are going to be a needle tool, a wooden knife, and your metal rib. Okay. And then the other thing that you might want to get a hold of is a little water bottle, a little spray water bottle. These aren't necessary, but you can get them for like $1 at the dollar store. They're really nice to have, and we'll go through and I'll show you why. So you're going to want to clear off your station. You can put your tools off on the side there. And how we're going to start, guys, you're going to take your ball, you're going to take your clay, smack it into a ball. Now the preparation for this is, it'll help out in the long run if after you've kind of pounded it into a ball, take a minute and kind of blend in your cracks. Just kind of get the big ones. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of time, because we're going to talk about compression and the importance of it. Okay, now after I've gone through and I've addressed most of the major cracks and stuff like that, we're going to start by taking this and pounding it into kind of a pancake. So I take my ball and I start going in with my hands back and forth, making it into a nice little pancake. Until I get a nice little flat pancake pizza looking thing going on here, okay? If you want, you can take it on the table. Kind of get it nice and even. The more even it is when you start, the less likely you will to have lumps and things. And this, guys, this technique that I'm going to show you, it takes some practice. You're going to have to do this a couple of times to get used to it. You know, it looks a lot easier than it really is. It takes, you know, several attempts. So, you know, if you don't get it the first time, I would say put a little bit of water on it, fold the clay back up onto itself, put it back into a garbage bag. Okay, let it sit there for a little while, and then go back to it. Or you can do it a couple of times, but when your clay starts getting really dry and it starts to rip, you're gonna wanna add some moisture to it to soften it back up, okay? So, now that we have this, guys, we're going to start, and I'm gonna recommend standing up for this. You can sit down to do it, but it's a lot easier to achieve this by standing up. So, now guys, even though I use the word throwing out a soft slab, we're guiding a soft slab. Okay guys, so we're not really just like, we're not gonna pick it up and throw it back down. It's the way that we bring it up and bring it back down, guys. There's a motion to it, and that's the success to it, guys, is by getting that motion and learning when to release the clay and letting the clay come down and grab the surface and stretch out. So we're gonna stretch out the clay, okay? So I'm gonna start this way, and I'm gonna pull it up, and we're gonna go back. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna turn this fan off. That's probably a lot better to hear me. I'm hoping that I don't have to redo the first half of this. So now, I'm gonna do this side. And if you'll notice, guys, I'm coming in and I'm releasing it right about here is when I release it, and then that kind of stretches it out. As you can see, that the slab is starting to get larger, okay? And this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to keep it to stay out flat. We don't want that tail to flop up like that. It'll happen a little bit, and we don't want it, we're not doing this, okay? So none of that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to keep it and bring that slab out slowly, okay? The slower you go, the more even your slab will be, okay? Now is what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to about 1/4 of an inch, okay? And I think that's pretty good right there, okay? And the reason why we want to stick with 1/4 of an inch, we could maybe go a little bit thinner, is because you guys are going to carve into your mugs, okay? And so you want to leave some clay there to carve into. So now that we have our nice slab going on here, guys, let's talk a little bit about compression, okay? Talk about it while we're doing it. So take your water, and if you want, you don't have to use a squirt bottle, guys. You can use your sponge. There's a sponge in your packet, and you can kind of, you know, have a little bowl of water and put it on there. But guys, as we've done this, we've now stretched the clay. The clay is made up of millions and millions of particles, and a lot of those particles are egg-shaped, okay? Now, the more you pull those particles apart, the weaker the clay is going to be, even after it's been fired, okay? So now what we want to do is we want to strengthen it back up. We want to push those. They love being really tight and close together. The tighter they are, the stronger your clay is going to be all the way through the firing processes, okay? So if you don't compress, you got a much weaker vessel, okay? And so you tend to have a chance to, it becomes more fragile, okay? So this is a way to strengthen that back up and, you know, make those bonds nice and tight again. So I'm just going to start off on this side, guys. When I compress my slabs, I always do 2 different ways. I'm gonna come through here, and this also gives us a chance to kind of make our slab nice and pretty. You know, if you see an air bubble, this gives you a chance to kind of get it out. There was a little air bubble right there, so you get it out. You know, you're also gonna make a little bit of slip too from pulling that water and that clay up. Just kind of add it a little bit to your pile over here where we're gonna be needing it. another one. And go back and forth and cover that up. Okay, and after I've gone one way, I generally like to give it a little bit more water, not a lot. Then I'm going to come back through and I'm going to go the opposite way here, this way. Going all the way through, compressing that clay, you know, keeping those particles nice and tight together. Letting them be nice and friendly with each other. You know, happy little particles. Okay, now, after I've done the one side, I'm going to gently take it, lift up my slab, and I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to do both sides. If it's starting to drag and catch, you guys can always put a little bit more water on there. Like that one was a little bit dry, so I'll hit it with another little bit of water before I go back the other way. Nice and tight. Good compression is the key, okay? Now, one more time, a little bit more water, and we're going to go back the other way with this one. All right, now guys, for those of you in my class, you know that we're going to do 2 of these. So that's one of the reasons why you have this. That's why I have, you know, I throw out a big enough slab is so you can do 2 templates. You're going to do cut out 2 templates for your mugs. Okay, guys. Once again, you're going to want a little towel or something like that to kind of be able to wipe your hands off on. You know, just, you know, you don't have to wash it all the time. Just kind of keep it there. It's okay if it gets a little dirty. So guys, this is just a blank scrap piece of paper like this. It's also going to be our chalkboard. We're going to talk about this here in just a minute. But guys, I take it and I fold it where it's about 1 inch up. Okay, so we have 1 inch overlap. All right, guys, let me pull this up a little bit closer so you guys can see it. I might even pull this up a little bit closer so you guys can kind of see what's going on here. Okay, so about 1 inch overlap here. Okay, and it's definitely folded, once again, hamburger style. Now, guys, if you'll notice, if you take it and you lay this out, if you're doing my class assignment, you should have enough here to get 2 mugs out, okay? But for right now, we're just gonna do 1, okay? So I'm just gonna come back here to the middle. I'm gonna lay my slab out, my template out, kind of push it down a little bit so it kind of sticks on the clay. I'm gonna take my needle tool. Now guys, a needle tool, especially these that we have here, okay? They break up in this area really easy if you apply. If you hold it like this, which is what we tend to do because it's like holding like a pencil. If we hold it like this and we apply a lot of pressure, you're going to snap that needle off. So one of the things I've learned is if you hold it more down on the needle while you're kind of, you know, cutting out your slab, your needle tools will last a lot longer. So now we're just going to trace out our template. And I know, guys, this looks like a massively big mug. Well, you guys are going to find out that our project's clay shrinks as it dries and as it goes through the different firing processes. Okay? Different clay bodies can shrink anywhere from 10 all the way up to about 20%. I've seen some porcelains go to 20%, which is a lot. Okay, this stuff we usually lose between 10 and 15% with this clay body. So now I'm gonna go through here, and you're gonna want to make just a little bit of a square here, and you're just going to take this and we're going to pull it and throw it off to the side for just a minute. This is going to come in just a little bit, okay? Throw it off to the side, right there. So now that we've done that, we can pull this clay up. And if you do it quick enough, guys, you can take all this clay here and it's still good and wet. If you want to add a little bit of water before you put it back in your bag, that's fine. But, you know, just kind of squish it back up and put it back in your bag. We're going to use this in just a minute, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna leave a little bit here, right here for just in a minute. And then I'll probably take this much for another thing that we'll do in a minute. But I'm gonna put most of it back into the bag. Okay, the bag's off here to the side. I'll even take this piece that I'll use later. Put it back in the bag. You know, always keep your clay covered up as often as you can, okay? Now, I'm gonna take my template off, and I have this, guys. Okay, now if you've made your thing out of cardboard, I have another thing that I wanted to show you guys. Let me grab it really quick. Well, I don't know where I placed it. I put it, I know I grabbed it, I just don't know where I put it. But what I was going to show you guys is if you want, the next step above this one, guys, is to go and get a cutting mat for sewing. They're fairly large. They're plastic. They got a grid on it, a grid pattern, and they're really nice for rolling out coils. And you know, if you tape it down to your surface for throwing out a slab, one side's generally a little more tacky than the other, and that's a really good surface for throwing out slabs. But this one is definitely the cheapest, because we all can find cardboard somewhere, and you know, a nice big piece of cardboard that's straight. This one actually had a line through it, so you know, as I was throwing it out, I had a little line in my slab, but that's okay. I compressed it out. So, but the one downfall sometimes with cardboard is it tends to stick. Okay, so this one's nice and stuck. So take your metal rib, you're gonna place it down on your cardboard, and just, you don't need to cut the whole thing off, just slice a little bit off on a corner or an edge, and then just kind of lift that corner up, and it should peel right up, okay? So now we have our nice slab here like this. Okay, so now our next step, guys, we're gonna take our needle tool, and we're gonna cut 45-ish degree angles over here. Okay, we're gonna do it on either side. So I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna take my thumb, and I'm gonna put it on this edge here like this, okay? And then I'm gonna come over on, start here, and it depends on which hand you are. If you're right-handed, you'll be over here, it'll be like this, you know, you'll be coming over here like this. I'm a lefty, so I'm gonna hold it over here like this, and a 45-ish degree angle. Just cutting through, cutting that off, pulling that off. That's some of those scraps. If you want, you can actually add it back to your clay if you already have enough slip. Now, guys, this right here, what I'm doing is called scratching and scoring. Now, if you think about this like wood, let's use wood for an example, okay? When you put glue on wood, like wood glue, you don't have to scratch and score because the wood already has grain, okay? We'll come back to that in a second. I'm gonna show you guys how to flip this. Grab this side here like this, and this is what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you flip it just like this. So you want that angle, this 45, to be facing down, okay? So now that we've done that, we're gonna do another 45 cut over here. So back to talking about slip and scratching and scoring. So with wood, it has grain, so wood grain. Wood grain is like the scratching and scoring that we're doing here. So we're kind of adding our own little wood grain. So the glue seeps down in there, and it helps to bond. It gives something for that glue to grab onto, okay? And I usually do a hatch pattern here, just, you know, going back and forth. Okay, now I've got a little bit of this slip over here. Get just a little bit, guys. It doesn't take much, just a tiny little bit on your finger. And we're just gonna run it down in a little bead down this, okay? If you run out by the end, just grab a little bit more. You know, you don't have to overdo it, just a little bit, just enough to get it in there. You know, cover up those, you know, get it down in those cracks that you just made here, okay? Take, you know, wipe your finger off when you're done. Now, what we're gonna do is when you do this, you're gonna grab it from this side here, guys, and then you guys are gonna kind of take it, start putting it into a U shape like this, and then you join it together. I'm gonna flip this around so you guys can see how I join it. So you're gonna take your sides, and you're gonna fold them in, and then line those two 45s up, and then kind of push them together, okay? So it's gonna push together just like this, all the way down. Okay, now that when we're here, now we're gonna take our finger, we're gonna put one hand on the inside, and then we're just gonna kind of start blending this in. Blend it in as far as your finger will go down. You don't need to go any further than that because we're just going to flip it. Okay? Take a second, blend that top in, you know. And if you want, you can go in and start blending the inside in with your finger. Okay? I'll show you guys how to get rid of the lines here in just a second. You don't have to stress out too much about, you know, I mean, you want to do as best a job as you can in blending that line in, because the stronger you blend it, the stronger of a bond you're going to get. Okay, and after I've blended the outside, now I can focus on blending the inside in. That's when this guy comes in, your wooden knife, guys. Okay, this is going to be a key tool. This end down here, I always refer to it as the sculptor's thumb. Okay, because it kind of, if you look at it, it kind of looks like the end of your thumb. Okay, you stick that the curved end, so the end that curves down, you stick that in there, and you can blend your seam in from the inside. And this is a lot easier than trying to use your finger. Okay. And I'm just going to flip it back over this way, and I'll hit that seam one more time from this angle. You know, it doesn't take a lot of pressure, but you know, apply some decent pressure just so it'll nice and blend. You know, I'm actually chasing that thing up as I go to make sure that we get some nice pressure all the way up and down there. Okay. Now, in order to kind of get rid of those the blending lines, you just take your metal rib, put a little bit of a bend into it, and then just kind of, you know, blend that in, and that'll help make it go away. Now, the reason why I was saying that, you know, it's nice to do as best of a job as you can, but you can always kind of tell where that seam is. So one of the ways I've found to hide it is to, the fan I turned off a minute ago is the fan for my house. So, but one of the ways I've found to help hide that seam is by putting the handle right there. Okay, so that's a good way to hide that seam. Okay, so now that we have our cylinder, we're just going to take the cylinder, we're just going to set it off over here just to the side for just a second. We're going to take that slab that we had just a minute ago and place it down. And then now just take a minute to, you know, shape your cylinder, get it nice and round or whatever shape you want. But right now, round is a good one. Okay. And then you're going to take a needle tool, guys. Now, the one thing that you want to do is you don't want to attack this thing with the needle tool going like this. You want to go as straight down as you possibly can, okay? So just kind of make sure that you're going straight down, not in at an angle. Come around. And then cut that off, okay? Now, the one thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make a little mark. I always make a mark from the very bottom going into the slab just a little bit, okay? And that's okay because we're going to blend it in. But what this does is this helps us because we're going to actually pull these two apart, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scratch and score. All the way around, really nice and good. You guys, you don't want to skip these steps. These are pretty important steps, these scratching and scoring and stuff. This is what helps keep this bottom on, okay? So make sure you do it. Now I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to do the same on this side here. Going through, getting some nice scratching and scoring on. You know, 1/16 of an inch is good. all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my little slip pool here, grab some slip, and I'm going to add some slip all the way around. Getting that slip down into that crevice, into those little score marks. All the way around. Okay, now those score marks are going away, but I'm not blending them in. I'm actually just kind of putting some slip into them. Okay, so they're still there, they're just covered with slip. Now, one thing I'm trying not to do is, as I'm moving this around, is I'm trying not to deform it too much, because I don't want to lose the shape, because this is a certain shape and it's not perfectly round, guys. Most of your hand building assignments are going to be kind of more of an organic feel to them, so they're not going to be perfect. But you know, that being said, you know, if you want to spend the time and make it, you know, nice and round, you know, by all means, okay, do it. I encourage you to do what you want. You know, make this yours. This is your mug, okay? So now I'm going to take and I'm going to apply just a little bit of pressure, you know, just kind of get that to kind of bond together. And then I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to flip it over. I'm just going to hold it in my hand. I'm going to blend this seam in all the way around. You know, don't worry too much right now about what it looks like. We'll come back over it again in just a minute and we'll clean it up, make it nice, look nice and good. You know, right now we got a bunch of wet clay. You know, guys, there are different times when you can work on this, and you'll find as you work with clay, the different times when you can move it around and stuff. Like, you know, when you get into the leather hard state, you know, it's still movable, but I wouldn't recommend doing too much movement on it. You know, you can do slight little shifts, but when it's bone dry, or not bone dry, but leather hard, that means you've lost quite a bit of water. So you don't want to move it too much at that state, but you know, it's still movable, okay? And I'm still, right now, even though I know it kind of looks kind of, you know, kind of crummy on the bottom, that's fine right now. We've still got plenty of time to work with it. But now, right now, I'm going to put this off to the side, and I'm going to take some of that clay that I pulled out earlier. We're going to roll out a coil. So guys, one thing that I've learned about coils is the closer you can kind of squish it out into the coil thickness that you want, the easier it is to roll out a coil, okay? So take it, now guys, you're gonna apply even pressure, flat hand, you're gonna work it from all the way back and forth, okay? Applying even pressure, and then you're just gonna slowly pull your hand across it, and then just come back and forth, okay? Work on getting these coils down. This is, you know, something that, you know, there'll be a coil in most all of our assignments. And if we have time, there's even a coil pot assignment that I'd love for us to get to. So, you know, the nicer you guys can do it as you practice, the easier it becomes for you guys to roll out coils. Okay. There we go, nice coil. So I'm gonna cut off the end here. And I might roll this one out just a little bit more down here. Now I'm just gonna take this whole big coil, and no, I'm not gonna use the whole thing, but it makes it a little easier to get that down in there in the bottom. Now what we're doing is we're gonna put a coil all the way down in the bottom. I'm gonna use the back end of my needle tool, and I'm gonna push it up against the sides here, down all the way at the bottom. And I have a little visual that I will show you here in just a second. So you're going to take that coil, get it in there, and then go to the when it laps itself, you just want to go over there and cut that other end off, okay? And then pull the remainder out. Okay. So let's see if we can show the camera. Let me get it in here and kind of push it in there. Just a little bit, get it up against the wall. So it's going to be on the floor, on the bottom of the mug, and the wall. So it should look something like this. Let's see if we can get that a good, yeah, you can kind of see that in there. See how that's got that coil down there at the very bottom, and I've got some needle marks. So let's go to a better visual here. Okay, so guys, what we're trying to do is, I made this earlier. If you can look, you can see that seam down there, and we want to get rid of that seam. Seams are not a good place. Seams tend to be a place for, you know, food to hide. And when you have a nice little crack or a seam in there, guys, food tends to hide in there, and you know what happens after food sits in an area, and there's usually no dishwasher in this world that will fully wash out a seam. You know, I mean, there's going to be little bits that are left in there, so you always want to, on the inside of anything that you're going to eat with, you're going to want to make sure that you cover up all the deep cracks and things like that, you know, with a wooden knife or a coil or something like that. So right now, guys, if you'll notice, right now we look just like this. Now our intention is to take it from that and make it into this, okay? So we're going to take, and I'll show you guys how to do that here in just a second, but I just want to show you guys what it looks like now, and then what our intention is, okay? So from there, I'm going to take my needle tool, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to definitely go in, and I'm going to push down on that all the way around. You know, don't be afraid. You don't want to push too hard, but make sure that that coil is established in there. You know, that it's starting to, you know, bond to the edge and the side there, and the floor, the bottom of your mug, okay? And then after you got that nice and pushed in, and I'll show you here in just a second, before I switch over. Okay, so you can see it there. It's nice and pushed in. Now, guys, I'm going to go through and I'm going to blend it in with my needle tool. Or not my needle tool, my wooden knife. Okay, take some time here and do it nice. You know, you want it to look really nice, okay? And this demo is already going into the 30-minute mark, so I might wind up having to break this up. So I'm just going to hurry up and get this done. Because we got one more step before we put a handle on here. And without that fan on, guys, it sure is getting hot in here. Okay, so now, guys, now that we've got that, we've pretty much got a cup, okay? But the one thing that we don't want to leave is this square edge up here, guys. This is the most gross and would not be okay to drink from the surface, okay, guys? So now back to the sketch. I showed you guys a sketch earlier. I drew that on there. If you look up there at the very top, I'll kind of point to it as we go. So, guys, our goal is this right here. You guys can see that, how that kind of has a little bit of a fall out shape, and then it rounds a little bit at the top, and then it goes flat here, guys. This right here is the perfect form for your lips, okay? For our lips, they want to have something to kind of be able to open up to and have that liquid fall right into our mouths, guys, and it makes for a really nice drinking vessel. So I found that we have that tool right here with our fingers. So if you take and you place one finger in, about 1/4 of an inch down, and then you gently pinch and turn as you're doing it. And you know, it'll take several go-arounds. Your first one is just to kind of get the basic form. And just keep working on that until you have that nice flat rounded top up here. Okay, so it's flat and then it's rounded on the top and then it gently slopes inward, okay? So, you know, take some time here and do this nice and slow. You know, take a little bit of time, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this one off to the side, and then I'm gonna pull this one out. This is one that I did earlier. Taken some time, I've cleaned it up. It's really nice and smooth on the outside. It's got that really nice rim on it here. You can see that, how it's got that nice sloping shape going inward and the flat going up at the top there, okay? So now, guys, the reason why I'm doing this is because, so I did two, okay? So now what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to pull a handle, even though you guys have seen the handle pulling demo, but I'm going to show you how to attach it to one of these mugs. So I've got a little bowl of water here, and that other ball of clay that I was talking about earlier. We'll pull that out, okay? We're going to start with the ball of clay. And I'm going to go back, and as you guys, if you watch that other video, we're going to make our chicken leg, our turkey leg, or whatever you want to call it. through, make sure you clean this up, because if you clean this up now, you won't have those cracks when you're pulling it. Okay, I'm gonna add some water, and then I'm gonna pull that handle. Remember the okay, we're going okay, slow, and tapering it down all the way through though, guys, all the way through. Remember that. As soon as we get the handle established, okay, we can see our nice handle coming out here. Now we're gonna do those scissors, okay, the scissor technique, pulling through, all the way through, okay? Whenever it starts getting wet or sticky and tacky, we add more water, coming back and forth, okay? As soon as we get a nice handle, I want you to turn it 180 degrees, and in this way you can get uniformity, make it nice on both sides, okay? So again, I'm gonna kind of work a little bit more up here at the top. So I've got a nice handle here. Pinch that bottom piece off, throw it off to the side. Now, since I'm in the house, and I don't really want to hang this off my table, I'll just kind of hang it off the bowl, okay? Now, let's kind of turn this so you guys can see it, okay? So now, once again, take your towel, dry your hands off, okay? We're going to take our needle tool. Generally, I like to keep my mug or whatever I'm putting it on, I want to keep it close so I can kind of see the relationship of the handle and the mug together. I'm going to take my needle tool. I'm going to grab it with whichever hand I'm not. So I'm left-handed, so I'm going to grab it with my right hand. Now guys, I was telling you in that handle pulling demo that the way that you hold it when you apply it kind of will help. Makes it a lot easier to put that on, okay? I'm gonna cut it at that 45-degree angle. I'm gonna come through 45-ish, clean this up. I'm gonna scratch and score. Okay, I'm gonna add some slip. Now I'm just going to place my handle down for just a second, laying it out flat. And now what I want to do is I want to find where I want to put my handle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for my seam. Okay, I found it, I think. Yep, I found it. It's right here. Okay. If you clean up your outside enough, sometimes it's hard to find it. Now guys, as I'm putting a handle on here, I want to come down about 1/4 of an inch from the top, because we don't want our handle to go all the way up to the top of the mug. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to scratch and score this, and then I'll show you guys I'll put it up close to the camera. So come down about, 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch, somewhere in between there is nice. Scratched and scored. You can see that right there, okay? So don't be afraid to scratch and score it. Now, guys, as I was saying, it's kind of important. It'll help a lot if you guys do it like this. If you hold your mug by the bottom here, and you take it in your dominant hand, and what I do is I like to put the scratch and score marks aiming down, and then I line it up, and that way I can put that handle on nice and straight, okay? So it's gonna look, so I'm looking at it like this, okay? So it's like this, and I'm gonna put my thumb on the inside here, and I'm gonna take this finger here, and I'm gonna come, and I'm gonna push up, and then down just a little bit. So that was kind of up and then down just a little bit. And that locks that handle on there. You need to take a little bit of time after this, kind of work that handle on, And now after this, after I've got that on there how I want, working both sides, okay, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna flip this, and I'm gonna flip it down like this, okay? And you kind of stop here, and then you want to play with your handle for just a minute. Get that handle how you want it. Get it to, on there nice. And put some pressure on that thing. Make it sit up in there. You want to, when you grab a hold of it, you want it to feel right in the hand, okay? Now, the one thing that you don't need here, guys, is you don't need this to come out 10 miles, okay? You want just to be able to, your fingers to be, a little bit away from the mug, not touching the mug, so if you have something hot in here, you're not going to burn yourself, but, just enough to kind of keep it away, keep the heat off of you, but not have a huge honking handle hanging off there. You know, maybe eventually if you want to, you can. But for right now, let's work on getting these handles on there nice and clean and neat. You know, eventually if you want to do more stylish type handles, I've seen handles that come off really hard, and you know, 1-finger handles and 5-fingered handles and stuff, and you know, those are things that we can work on, you know, later on. But for right now, let's get just a basic handle on, okay? Take some time, get that nice. Now, after you're to this point here, you're going to want to go ahead and cut it to where it's, you know, a little bit off from the bottom. You don't want that to hang down on the bottom. So I'll show you here really close up. So we've got that attachment right there, just like this. Handles coming nice and pretty, okay? Hanging on there good. Now guys, the one thing that I've learned over the years is, you know, yes, the more you can scratch and score and add slip to things, the better. But when it comes to something like this, you don't need to hang upside down to scratch and score and put a little bit of slip on that handle. That handle's already wet from you pulling it. So what I do is I just scratch and score right there. As you cut that little end piece off, there's going to be a little line that you see, and you can just scratch and score just above that. So you're going to want it to look something like this. Okay, let's get that on there. So that scratch and score mark there. And then what I do is I just take a little bit of slip and I put that in there. And I have found over the years of putting handles on, and I've put plenty of handles on mugs, and I've never had an issue, unless you do a kind of a crappy job attaching it. Put that on there, and I get it to kind of resemble this. This is what I'm looking for. Now guys, I'm gonna, because I didn't scratch and score the handle part, I'm gonna take my finger and I'm gonna rock it back and forth. Okay, just kind of giving it pressure, getting it to bond on there really well. And now after this, guys, you can go through, if you want to blend that handle in, I like it to look like, you know, a handle got stuck on there, you know, or it's growing out of it, you know, that kind of a thing. I like to leave that there. I don't like to blend mine in. I love that look of it kind of just hanging on there. But if you want to blend it in, you know, it's your mug, you do what you want. But the handle, you know, it needs to be a nice handle, okay? Have it on there. You know, if you want to take a little bit of time and straighten it out, you know, I kind of like a little bit of a crooked handle sometimes, you know. Not too crooked, just a little bit off, you know. I like to make it look like it was handmade, you know. If you want something that's perfect, well, you know, like I said, go to Walmart and buy a perfect mug, okay? Go buy a mold-made mug, okay? Not a handmade mug. I like to see the little, you know, the little off, the little, you know, made by hand thing. Okay, guys, so this is just a quick soft slab mug project, okay? You're gonna do 2 of these, or however many you want. The next video is going to be on how to decorate this thing. So after you've made 2 of these guys, you want to let them, you know, you don't want to set them out in the sun, but you let them set up for, you know, an hour or 2 out in just the normal temperature so they can stiffen up a bit. You want them to be a little bit stiffer. You want that handle and the mug to kind of, you know, get a chance to kind of become friends, okay? And then now after this, guys, we're going to take this mug here, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our designs, our sketches on it. So from the sketches to the mug, from the sketches to the practice handles to the mug, now we're going to apply our art on it, okay? Even though this is artful by itself. All right, guys? So, you know, once again, guys, you know, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications. It makes it a lot easier for you guys to see when I upload and see the assignments as I put them out. Make beautiful pots, guys. Make awesome things. And can't wait to meet you, see you guys. You know, drop me a line, drop me a comment, whatever. Peace out.